Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live and interactive webinar on how A&W and Cadeon deliver value through digital transformation. So if you've attended one of our partner webinars in the past, you may know who I am. I'm Shay Greenlee with the TIBCO Field Marketing Team, and I'm super excited for you guys to hear from our speakers today. But before we get started, we'll just go over a couple housekeeping items. So as we'll be opening up the discussion for a live Q&A today at the very end, please feel free to put your questions in at any time. It doesn't matter if it's at the very beginning or towards the Q&A portion. You can put that into the Q&A box or the chat box at the bottom or the top of your screen, depending on where it's located. And not only are you in for a treat with the content and the speakers for today's webinar, those of you that stay on till the very end, as well as participate in our Q&A by submitting a question or multiple questions for one of our speakers, you will be receiving a $25 gift card to Starbucks. And who doesn't love some free coffee, right? So with that, I would like to introduce some of our panelists today. So today we are joined by Tarek Chaudhry from A&W, Phil Unger from Cadeon, and Mark Seifert from TIBCO Software. So each of them will actually be introducing themselves when we pass the presentation off to them. So before we dive into what you all came for, because I know you're not here just to listen to me speak, let's take a look at our agenda. So first up, we have overviews from both TIBCO and Cadeon, and then we'll go into what exactly is that 10K challenge and how can it benefit you as a business. And then we'll move into the success story with A&W, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. And finally, we'll wrap up with a live Q&A with today's speakers. So with that, I will pass this off to our very own Mark Seifert to introduce himself and talk about TIBCO. Off to you, Mark.
Great, thank you, Shay. And depending on your location, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to our attendees. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Seifert, and I manage our partner team for the Americas. I'm extremely excited to be in this role because of my 20 years at TIBCO and my 30 years of selling enterprise and software. My most successful customers have leveraged our partner network. Our partners are dedicated and passionate about our customer success and have made the investments into TIBCO to have the knowledge and skills to implement our solution. In addition, they bring industry knowledge and repeatable assets to our joint customers. I'm fired up to be here today with Phil from Cadeon and Tarek from A&W to discuss digital transformation and the power of data in this evolution. Most organizations today aspire to become data-driven companies. Data is rapidly becoming a strategic asset with as much value as a company's finances, products, or solutions. Some have called data the new oil, the true power of business. By leveraging data, it helps organizations digitally transform their business and culture, becoming more innovative and forward-thinking in their decision-making. Collect all the data you want, but if you can't make sense out of it, where's the value? This is where TIBCO and our partners come in. With the right set of tools and technologies, data can be converted into insight into action, and then the value add through your enterprise and capture new business opportunities will help take your organization to the next level, becoming more competitive and agile. Next slide, please, Shay. So digital transformation can mean lots of things to lots of different people. I think of it as a way to leverage data and technology to make your business more efficient, drive more revenue, and quickly enter new markets. During this pandemic, we've witnessed digital transformation all around us. For example, the family-owned bakery that now allows you to order online, pay with a credit card, and pick up your order without ever talking to anybody that works there. But behind the scenes, the bakery now has better information on who is buying what and when, and can tailor their baking schedule around this new asset, the data about their customers. So you can think about all the different things they can do now that they didn't have before. My definition of digital transformation includes the accomplishment of three major initiatives: improving customer intimacy, driving operational excellence, and reinventing your business. What you're going to hear today from Cadeon and A&W is how they implemented a digital transformation project in record time. While they accomplished objectives in operational excellence and business transformation, they were also able to increase job satisfaction and redeploy critical assets to address other business objectives. I was excited to hear that A&W Canada was moving forward with the TIBCO Cadeon project and have tracked the progress since they started the pilot earlier this year. While I've been working with Cadeon for years, My real passion is A&W root beer since I was a kid. And I tell you what, there's nothing better than an A&W root beer float. Let me take a minute and introduce our 2020 High Velocity Partner of the Year. Phil Unger and Cadeon have been working with TIBCO and TIBCO Technology as a partner for over 10 years. They are experts in our Spotfire, data virtualization, and master data management product offerings, and have been involved in many successful customer implementations in energy, finance, retail, and food and beverage. They offer training, consulting, implementation, and advisory services. With that, please allow me to introduce Phil Unger from Cadeon, our TIBCO lead partner and good friend. Take it away, Phil.
Thanks very much, Mark. Suddenly I'm craving A&W root beer. Maybe after this, I'll go get some. Good morning, everybody. I'm Phil Unger, President and CEO of Cadeon. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend with us. As we dive in here, just a couple of overview on what Cadeon does. We're a 13-year-old company. We specialize in energy, restaurant, hospitality, a number of different things. In the history of the company, we have 100 customers. Really what we're after is how do we enable self-serve BI and analytics? And with that, we believe training is a very important part to all your implementation efforts. This is very complicated software, and you need to take some training with it to get the most out of it. Really, at the end of the day, we're delivering information through information. Innovation through information, pardon me. Next slide, please. So Mark talked about digital transformation. This is the framework that we use for digital transformation. Basically, we call it Synapses. Today, what we're going to focus on is the visualize and analyze component of that. You'll notice that there's a number of different components, and as we work from left to right here, you'll see Mark talked a little bit about master data management. That's in the virtualize or diarize section. But if you're moving towards machine learning, this is the framework that we recommend. Next slide, please. So for Cadeon and the success triangle with TIBCO, it's really three things. It's consulting, software, and training. So Cadeon plus TIBCO equals these three. Next slide, please. So why did we create this 10K challenge? We created it because we wanted to narrow it down for, sorry guys, I'm trying to race here. We wanted to basically net it out to digital transformation doesn't take millions of dollars. It can be done for as little as $10,000. So what we wanted to do is basically show how affordable it can be and the high return on investment. So basically what Cadeon's doing here is we're actually saying for $10,000, not millions of dollars, we're actually going to come into your organization and show you how we can get you down the digital transformation path. Next slide, please. So who's it for? It's for any business that wants to maximize their investment in digital transformation. And what's in it for me? It's really, there's no risk for the customer, because if we don't come in and do what we say we're going to do, basically it's free. You don't have to pay us for our time. So the whole goal here is for short time to results, but high benefits, short time to benefits as well. So very high rate of return in the effort, right? So I noticed there's one of the questions here in the chat where we talked about how long does it take to implement? So from how does it work? It's 40 hours worth of consulting, and that's elapsed time. That's not contiguous time. So 40 hours of consulting, proof of value. How it typically starts, and the way it started with A&W was we had a requirements discovery session. We bring in the analytics software, and we also bring in data virtualization. We're not going to talk about data virtualization today, but that's one of the key components to the 10K challenge. So basically what the team does is come in and creates visualizations, some key core visualizations. As you can imagine, 40 hours, there's only so many visualizations we could create, but then connect to your data sources. And at the end, we present the results to stakeholders. And the goal here too is after the initiative, we basically are training one user on everything that we've accomplished. All right. So what are clients saying? So obviously we're here to talk about what the story is with A&W, and basically, but here's another customer that we've worked with that took the same approach. And so this is Shane Griffin from the Calgary Real Estate Board. And basically Shane we worked with them back in 2007. So like A&W having multiple locations and obviously multiple customers, Calgary Real Estate Board has 6,000 real estate agents. And really what they're looking for is how do they manage 6,000 agents? So very similar to the story you're going to hear today with A&W. We basically were able to go in a short amount of time and deliver a high amount of value to them. And as you can see, Cadeon is absolutely our partner in information innovation. So it was a really good story. Okay. To find out more about the 10K Digital Transformation Challenge, so how do you sign up? So basically come to our website. info@cadeon.com is our email address, and start the discussion. So with that, we're going to move into our slides here now with Tarek. Tarek Chaudhry is Project Manager, Business Transformation at A&W. Tarek, welcome to the call.
Oh, thank you, Phil. Happy to be here.
So Tarek, next slide, please, Shay. So can you give us some background on digital transformation at A&W? Now, one of the things that you and I had been discussing was the whole objective here. So I put this up on the slide, but can you start us with the journey here? Because I know you've been working on this for longer than the last, I'll say 11 months.
Yeah, we have, and we started on this journey about two and a half years ago. But like most organizations, I think our journey started with a realization that our systems and processes that were in place were designed for a much smaller organization, and the seams were starting to show, as they say. And any new work or even problem required us adding people, so just throwing people at it. As you can understand, that's not a sustainable model, since inevitably you start increasing your overheads and you start seeing diminishing returns. So the journey really started with a desire to find a better way to work. When you talk about objective, you've placed it on here that we obviously wanted to replace some key analytics and benchmarking capabilities of some of the existing systems that we had. But we also wanted to identify and capture, efficiencies around reporting and analysis. One of the things about business transformation or digital transformation that I find or I've heard of in organizations is that they're in the middle or starting a digital transformation with the objective of reducing overheads. From my perspective, that's the wrong objective to have. Business transformation should always be about the people. And that's what we try to capture here, as you can see in the objective.
Right. Very important. Very important. I like that. It's about the people. Shay, can we go to the next slide, please? So as we've been talking here, what was the opportunity that started it all? Like where did, after all the work that you had done, Tarek, what was the opportunity that really you wanted to focus on first at A&W?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's a digital transformation or business transformation at A&W was all about the people. So we wanted to enable our colleagues to do more fulfilling or value add work by removing the mundane, the repetitive, the administrative tasks out of their path. And with that objective in mind, we quickly were able to identify within our operations team, especially, which is by far the largest team at A&W, most of our business managers were spending a lot of time, about 4 hours, collecting, transcribing, and creating reports. So they were collecting information from about 24 different systems, and then putting it into Excel and doing some formulas and creating a report to understand where is the business at. So we thought that was a really big opportunity for us to release that time for them so that they could actually spend more time with our franchisees and help them run better businesses.
Awesome. Next slide, Shay.
How did we decide on TIBCO?
Yes.
Fortune telling here. I knew the question you were going to ask. Well, we went through a requirement-based analysis process. So we use a company called Olive Technologies that helped us select the different vendors based solely on our requirements. So what we did is I obviously met with all the stakeholders, collected the pertinent high-level requirements, and we went out to market and shortlisted the solution based on our requirements alone. So without any conversations, without talking to the sales team, we said, okay, here's our requirements, who meets it the closest. And TIBCO came in and about 90+% of our was able to meet our requirements. And then we did, of course, we met with the TIBCO team, and A&W is all about partnership. And we found that the TIBCO team, the account team, was so responsive and so so involved with the or so geared towards understanding our business without trying to sell us, that they really differentiated themselves from the rest of the folks that we were talking to. And based on our demonstration and our requirements, we decided to go with TIBCO.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, like how many other vendors would you have looked at? Like,
we looked at throughout the whole full process about 20 other. We shortlisted about 4, and from 4 we went to proof of concept on 2, and from 2 we selected TIBCO.
Right on. Okay, so next question: what led you to working with us, and why did you pick Cadeon?
I think I like to refer to it like, we saw the Lego set, we saw the picture, we saw what we wanted to build. We just didn't have the capabilities or the knowledge on how to build it, right? We knew that it could be built, we just didn't know how to go about doing it. So we reached out to our partners at TIBCO and asked, who should we talk to and who do they refer? And they introduced us to you and your team. And you, as you were referring to earlier, we had the initial discovery session, and we talked about what we were looking for and what we needed help with. And I think the reason we picked you guys was, again, we found that you were willing to be partners with us and not just trying to sell services. But additionally, I really liked your challenge that you gave us. After the first conversation, you're like, you know what? Yeah, we can do this. Give us your data. We'll come back to you in 2 days. And we were like, what? And we're like, all right, why not? Let's give it a shot. So here you go. Let's see what you can do, Phil. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
And you definitely did.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Next slide, Shay. Okay, so now, and again, this journey started, I want to say, kind of March timeframe. Is that correct? I think it was around March, April timeframe. So what have the results been?
Well, results have been fantastic. I don't know if you have them. I think you might have put them on the slide. I'm not sure, but so far we've done 2 use cases with, as you know, with the first one that we launched was well, this is actually the second results for the second one, but that's okay. The first one that we launched was to replace functionality that we currently had within a system that we were going to abandon. So there was some analysis and benchmarking functionality that we absolutely needed to have in place before we, before the renewal was up or for an existing system, which we were easily able to do. And the results from that were what previously the position of the business of the data analyst was really around report creation, and that's all their full-time work was. After implementing Spotfire, what we were able to do is that person was able to create dashboards that allowed our business users to self-serve, so they could get the data without asking. They could explore the data without having somebody create a report for them. And the result from that is that person actually got a promotion into a managerial position where they're helping to make those business decisions rather than sitting there and creating reports. The one you see here, which is what started all the work for us, was the operations use case. And as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, our operations team was spending about 4 hours on average collecting information and transcribing and creating reports. 80% of our business managers now spend less than 1 hour. 100% spend less than 2 hours. And just to capture some satisfaction, because it is about improving the lives of our people and their job satisfactions. You can see the satisfaction rating difference between our prior solution, which was Info Buffet, or that's what we called it in-house, and Spotfire is quite significant. Satisfaction with the solution is 2.6 to 4.3. Ease of finding relevant data is 4.2 compared to a 2.9. Reliability of data has increased significantly as well. And most importantly, from my perspective, is the job satisfaction. That a tool can actually increase job satisfaction speaks volumes.
So just out of curiosity, when you say 80% of the business managers now are spending less than 1 hour, is that per day, Tarek?
Per week.
Per week. Okay,
Yeah.
and 100% is less than 2. Yeah, that's amazing and great results. I agree. The job satisfaction is awesome. Next slide, please. So yes, so basically of the 2 projects, because we've just really talked about one there, which was the menu analyzer. Of the 2 projects, and of the whole journey that you've been on, actually during a pandemic, what would you say would be your top 3 wins for A&W so far?
I think the biggest wins for us is, again, I hate to harp on the idea, but it is all about the people. So it is the biggest win for me is releasing that time for my colleagues and increasing their job satisfaction. But one of the biggest wins is how easy it is for everyone to get on board with it, with change management, especially in COVID world where data is king. You need real-time access to what's going on in your business, and that's readily available now, right? As we switched over during COVID to a new platform, everyone jumped on board and everyone wanted access. I mean, in most technology implementations, you'll find that you do a lot of change management. You try to convince people, and you bring them along on this journey to say this is a better way of doing things. What we found here is people are asking for access that I didn't consider, right? Like you're like, oh, can we get this? How do we get this? And we were like, okay, hold on. Let us make sure that it's set up for your usage before we just give you open access.
Right. So for the next question here, like, what is the plan for the future? Do you feel now that you have like a digital transformation type platform that you can continue to extend within your enterprise?
Absolutely, I think so. I mean, and that's the requests that we're getting speaks for themselves, right? Like, so we have different teams from throughout the organization saying, "Hey, I also want access to Spotfire, or I also want a dashboard built for our use case. How do we do that?" And that's absolutely the plan. We're not stopping here. So with the 2 use cases that we've implemented, the next step is we have a couple of more in the pipeline that we're going to start working on.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, Shay, how are we doing for questions?
Yeah, so we have a couple. So the first one, was COVID a key driver for your initiative, and how did it affect your journey, Tarek?
COVID was not a key driver. We started this journey a little bit before, but right in the middle of implementation is when COVID came up. So we would have usually preferred, like, we're a relationship driven company. So we would have preferred an in-person, consultation with Cadeon. We didn't get a chance to do that, but we learned to work quickly within on a digital platform, and really just the partnership with Cadeon and their team and constant communication. It didn't feel like they weren't on site at all.
Yeah, I remember those discussions where we were going to fly out to Vancouver and spend some time with you, and then COVID hit.
We're like, oh well, we're going to shut that down real quick.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to get there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully soon.
Yes.
So Phil, a question for you. What is needed from me to start this 10K challenge?
Just really your interest, right? As I said earlier, I kind of zoomed through the very beginning of the presentation. It really starts with tell us you're interested. We'll show up. We'll book a meeting with you. It's really your time, right? It's understanding what are your business requirements, what are those pain points that you have. So what we try to go after, honestly, is some of the hardest challenges that you have, right? A lot of people are struggling these days to actually pull data together from multiple different sources, multiple different clouds. So really, it's just coming in and setting up a meeting with you, with our team, and understanding what the business case is and what you're trying to solve. So the commitment basically on the customer side is really just time.
Awesome. So I think that this is more of a question for Tarek. Did you see any changes in the items offered on the drive-through menu versus the in-store menu from the analysis?
I haven't done like personally. I'm not sure of the analysis done on that perspective. I know there are folks working on that. I'm not aware of any changes in between the offerings compared to a drive-through menu to to that of an in-store menu. We did
Just
see a significant increase in our drive-through, of course.
But just to follow up on that, Tarek, too, the visibility of what people were, what happened to the visibility when you switched from Info Buffet or to the Spotfire solution?
Well, that was significantly improved, right? Like people, the data is at the fingertips of the business now. So we have created the dashboards, that data, and now the business user or business manager or operations or whoever needs to look at it can go in and slice and dice the information as needed. Whereas in before it was static reports that they were getting, and any changes that were required needed a request and then required some time to build and then send out. So now we're a lot more nimble, more flexible. We get the data, we can make decisions, we can see what's happening in our business right away.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So does this allow you to make real-time changes to staffing with more of a focus on the drive increases from COVID?
We haven't gotten down to that level of detail to say, oh, well, real time, how is the demand impacting our staffing at this moment in time? We haven't gone to that level of detail.
Okay. Awesome. So does A&W feel that they were able to see the ROI immediately after deployment? Or if not, how long do they think that it will take to see a real ROI on their investment with our software?
To be quite honest, we thought it would take months, right? We honestly thought that we were going to launch and we were going to take 3 to 4 months to 5 months. We're changing people's habits, getting them to come along, letting them see that here's training them and letting them know that this is a better way of doing work. But once we launched, and it just had its own virality, really. Like, you know, we had early adopters come on board, and they could not stop speaking about it with their colleagues. And we found that people were asking for access before we were even ready to give it to them, to be quite frank, because we were still in our sandbox, and we're like, okay, wait, we still have changes to make before we can give you access, and we're in a production environment. So really the results that I showed you is a survey after 30 days of go live. That's literally 30 days after. So I'd say we saw our ROI pretty fast.
So on the last 2 questions, someone had a follow-up about how COVID is affecting it. So is there a location or regional manager that we could talk to about how the solution helps them with staffing, supply chain, et cetera?
You can reach out to me. Maybe I'm looking to understand. Maybe we can have a conversation about what your question is and who I need to direct that question directly to. So feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to chat to you about that.
Awesome. And one last question that I have coming through. So for those of us on this call who are just starting out in our research, what advice would you give us to start our digital transformation journey, Tarek?
I think it starts with the people. You need to understand your end users before you go off and try to select a technology. It is all about requirements and understanding their needs. It's not just about having the functionality. It's also understanding how they're going to use it.
Awesome.
So Shay, just just a reminder, I guess, for everybody with regards to Starbucks, right? How many questions have we had? I see we have about 41 people on. Do we have 41 questions?
We don't.
Okay, so last chance to ask a question and get, is it $25 worth of Starbucks?
It's $25, yes. You guys don't want to miss out on your coffee. Come on. They got their holiday coffee out. There's still the pumpkin spice latte. I'm just kidding.
Plus, I think that in Canada, they just released 2 buy one, get one free. So you can double that $25.
Look here, today is double star day at Starbucks. And I know that because I'm an avid Starbucks goer. So get your questions in and we can get you guys. So how am I going to get the Starbucks card? Oh, well, we will be sending that out after this happens. So it'll be a virtual Starbucks gift card.
No, but we weren't supposed to have questions about how to get your Starbucks. We're supposed to have use case, James.
They're smart people, right? I'll ask a question.
About Starbucks, yes. So how is the rollout for the rest of the company, Tarek?
Well, we're actually working on that right now. As I mentioned a few times, there's quite a few different use cases that that we're not addressing right now. So we're creating that pipeline to start to prioritize those requests, and then we're going to get our business analytics team and Cadeon engaged to start rolling out those solutions for them as well.
Awesome. So
That's
are you able
to
look
or two? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. Are you able to look at data from all 900 plus locations?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
We actually have 1,000 now, but yeah.
Oh.
So, and Tarek, maybe that's a good question too, because it's at multiple levels, right? Where you started with the menu analyzer, and then you went to the business managers, right? So
yeah.
Could you maybe explain just kind of how that relates, like how those two tied together?
Well, the menu analyzer is really about understanding our menu mix, right? What people are ordering and when they're ordering it. It's about the check level data. So it is by far the most detailed data that we have, right? That we can go down to line by line item level and see what people are ordering and when. The business manager dashboard is, of course, is at a higher level, so we don't drill down necessarily into those details. I think the greatest thing with Spotfire is the data is all in one location now, right? If you need to, you can access that data and do that analysis, within a self-serve environment. You don't have to rely solely on the dashboards that we've created. So again, the objective for us was, we obviously can't create a dashboard for every single use case out there, right? People are going to have questions. We wouldn't have thought of those questions out of the gates. So what we wanted to do is like, hey, here's 80%, right? This is what you'll need to manage your business and I'm talking about the business manager's use case, that as a business manager, here's 80% of the metrics and the data that you'll need on a day-to-day to understand how your business is performing, so you can help your franchisees. But if you have questions, so if the franchisee asks you like, well, hey, compared to my staffing level compared to my drive-through volume, is that the right staffing level or not? You can actually go and do that analysis. But that's a really one-off question for a restaurant to look at, right? So that's not something that I'm going to give on a dashboard, but that we have enabled our business users to go create that self-serve analysis, right? By creating some templates.
Very important, right? Because I remember with the original solution that you had it was kind of canned reporting, which was you put in some parameters, you hit create, and a couple hours later you got back a report. It wasn't really that actionable data or being asked the new questions by working with the data.
Yeah, because anything required you to make sure you at first had the data, right? That's one of the biggest wins here, though, is right having your data in a central location and ready at your fingertips. Whether you use it or not, it's all there in one location, right? And you can access it quickly. And if you want to bring in external things, like, there may be some regional tracking that somebody's doing for their restaurants that is not relevant to at a national level, but they can bring that into the analysis using Spotfire, even if it's in an Excel sheet, for example, and use that to provide insights to the franchisees for questions they may be asking that again aren't relevant at a national level, but they are very much relevant at a regional or a city level or whatever the case may be.
Awesome.
So with that, Tarek, can you share some of the data sources and data warehouse destination, the types of data formats you're looking at within the analyzer, and where are you storing it?
God, that I wish we had Melissa on the call, who is our data architect, who could answer those questions. We are using Snowflake as our data warehouse. We also had, I think, Oracle. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but again, the type of different data that we're looking at, that's going to be a question for our data architect.
But I think that was kind of the brilliance of this story too, because it was this initiative that we worked on with you was in conjunction with all the back end systems and tying the data together behind the scenes also, right?
Yeah.
And I think I heard mainframe technology when we first started talking, right? We were coming from DB2 and places like that, and moving off of those legacy systems. That I think one of the benefits that I saw, and you and I've talked about, is I think it was like 5,500 man hours of operational costs was reduced per year as a result of this. Is that correct?
In regards to the data management of it?
Well, just in regards to the overall.
5,500, yes. 5,500, yeah, for the operations use case, yes.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have a team of 60 folks. It's 4 hours a week. It amounts up quite quickly.
Yeah,
we released, right?
Awesome. So someone asked, sorry if this was mentioned earlier, but what TIBCO products are layered in this solution?
So I believe we are using, we have the data virtualization. We have TIBCO Spotfire. We also have some automation services and one other service can build statistical analysis.
Yeah, that's correct.
So someone also, in addition to that, was asking if you could add some specifics regarding the data pipeline. Is Spotfire plug and play with cloud providers?
Phil, I think that's more for you.
So the answer is yes. So there's, you can actually, in a cloud provider like Snowflake, there's absolutely a way to connect directly from Spotfire. The data virtualization pieces that Tarek was talking about, absolutely, there's a connector there also to connect direct to Snowflake. So yeah, that was the power of being able to, so the brilliance of this solution is it is a combination of cloud and information on-prem.
Awesome.
And I think we do both, actually.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So Tarek, a question for you. What were the challenges you encountered during the implementation that you didn't initially anticipate?
Lots of different challenges, to be quite honest. I think the biggest challenge was perhaps a little pre-implementation, was to get business digital transformation. We talk about it, or business transformation, we talk about it, and it sounds great in theory, but when you get down to actually starting on that journey, it's not quite simple, because there's so many different people involved, and you have to account for fears of people and getting them to come along and saying, hey, there's a different way of doing things, because people processes and systems and way of doing work is ingrained in organizations, right? And people are unless there's a pain, people won't change. And most people are very comfortable with the systems they're using, so it's hard to get them to come along. So I think that was the biggest challenge, is getting people to come out come out of their comfort zone and see the art of the possible, right?
So with that, someone asked, actually, what is the employee's response to this digital transformation?
People are excited, to be quite honest. It wasn't like, from day one, we didn't announce it and people said, oh, yay. There was a lot, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of hesitation, because they didn't understand what that meant, right? They didn't understand what would that mean for their job, or what that job security, and how their roles would be impacted. Their responsibilities may change. So it took time, it took communication, it took persistence to land the message that this is really about them, right? It's not about the company. It's not about us trying to reduce overheads. Because if you look at COVID, most organizations have, if the objective is to reduce overhead, you've achieved it, right? I mean, most people aren't traveling. There's no entertainment expenses. Maybe your office expenses are down, but you haven't fundamentally changed anything. So business transformation is about the people, and that landing that message with my colleagues was the key to success. And after a little bit of time, they started to understand that, yes, this is really about improving their lives.
And Tarek, just to go back to the earlier question here with regards to lessons learned, I think one of the core lessons learned there was, now that you have access to the data, everybody wants all the data right away. And, one of the things, just thinking back here, when we were trying to get all the data, and it was like, well, how much data do you need? Well, no, I need 2 years worth of data, or whatever it was, right? I think that it should be a bit of a crawl, walk, run. And we certainly learned that on this project, that it was like, do you really need all that data? Like, let's start with some, bite-sized pieces first, and then evolve and really get specific about what is that data that you actually need.
That's actually a great point, Phil. And I think the lesson for me was, just because the business says they want it doesn't necessarily mean that they need it. So asking that question is, why is this important, and what business action or what action are you going to take from this data or this KPI is important to know, because otherwise, people will want everything just in case they ever need it, right? But having that, giving them the ability to answer the question why is extremely important.
Cool.
Awesome. So a question for you, Phil. Can Cadeon provide training follow-up for this and solutions of this type?
I think yes. The answer is yes. It's like, I think requirements dictate everything. So it's really about understanding your, but similar requirements, similar process. I mean, the great thing about the 10K challenge for me is it's bite size. As I talked about earlier, it's very much about low cost to get into. That's really the process. It's, as Tarek's been talking lots about people, it's the people that we're bringing in. It's actually the process that we're going to take you through. And then, hey, it's the software that we're using that's enabling our customers to get tremendous value and bring innovation through information into their business. So yeah, it's not really a template. It's not something that we could, I don't think Tarek would want us to give them exactly the same thing, but yeah, it's close, right? And it's based on your requirements.
Yeah, I mean, to answer their question, we did take advantage of training from Cadeon. So Cadeon provided us the initial training and advanced training for self-service. And for us, what we did is we created a center of excellence. So we used that we trained our super users, who in turn are now helping their colleagues as questions come up. And obviously we have the basic training that we've created in-house for our dashboards and stuff, but it all started with getting training from Cadeon first.
Awesome. So I will actually end it with this one last question. So now that you have this implemented, Tarek, what data surprises started showing up after implementation, and what did you see from the analysis that you didn't expect?
I wish I could answer that question. I think my colleagues would be better inclined to. I am not a user. I was the project manager for the implementation. I am not a daily user of the platform itself. My role was more about making sure we delivered on a solution that met their needs.
Awesome. Fantastic. Phil, Tarek, did you guys have any questions you want to ask one another?
No, we talk quite often.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll think of something after we're done here, but hey, listen, today, I want to say thanks very much, Tarek, for joining us. And I mean, it's been a great journey. And again, one of the things that with the 10K challenge, I think you guys experienced that. In fact, yours was actually even shorter. Like in 2 short days, that was really where I think the loony dropped, so to speak, to say this is the right direction and framework. But thanks so much for your time today to tell the story. I really appreciate you being here. Yeah,
my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
Awesome.
And if anybody else wants to learn more about the 10K challenge, again, thanks, Shay, for putting the slide together. And please feel free to reach out, and happy to be talking with you. So, yes. Mark, thanks again for the intro at the beginning. Really appreciate the support from TIBCO. Thanks to our partner, TIBCO. We're a gold partner with TIBCO now, and we really appreciate the platform and the opportunity to tell this story with you guys as well.
Of course, Phil, thank you for everything you do for us, and great work. You always do a great job making sure your customers are successful.
Thanks, Mark.
Awesome. Well, with that, so everyone who asked questions, who participated, be on the lookout for those virtual gift card in your inboxes. And in the meantime, you will also be receiving a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar. And if you're interested, these slides will be available upon request. So feel free to email that info@cadeon.com. And finally, just want to say a huge thank you to Phil, Mark, and Tarek again. It was such a pleasure to hear from you all and to listen to A&W's eye-opening journey to digital transformation. And of course, thank you to our incredible audience for taking time out of your day to join us and participate in this discussion. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.